Hi dear students, welcome to Sriram's IAS. I am Kavita. I will be teaching Anthropology optional for Sriram's IAS on Unacademy platform. So, in this lecture, we shall be discussing an interesting small topic in anthropology, that is Down syndrome. In anthropology, we have a chapter under physical anthropology called as chromosomal aberrations. So the name of the chapter is chromosomes and chromosomal aberrations. So in that chapter, we will be discussing structural aberrations, numerical aberrations, and many more. Out of that, one syndrome which we will be discussing as part of that topic is Down syndrome. So in this lecture, we shall discuss Down syndrome. This is how a Down syndrome child will look like. So before we begin our discussion, I would like to give you some important information. So we have the comprehensive batch on Anthropology optional by Sriram's IAS on Unacademy platform, and the new batch has already begun on 17th of July. So if you haven't enrolled as of now, you can even enroll now. And the batch is between 2 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. every day from Monday up to Friday, and Saturday, Sunday you will have a break. Okay. So the teachers are Tirumurugan sir and myself Kavita K. Okay. So we both will be handling Anthropology optional for Sriram's IAS on Unacademy platform. So we also have a foundation batch for UPSC Civil Services examination with Sriram's IAS. It is a comprehensive batch for UPSC Civil Service examination 2024, and the batch covers 100% syllabus of UPSC in an integrated manner. So when you enroll for this course, you get complete preparation for prelims, mains and interview stages of the civil service examination in a structured manner by the top educators. So you can enroll for the general studies course as well as for the optionals course. So let's begin our discussion with the topic Down syndrome. What is Down syndrome? Down syndrome is a condition in which a child is born with an extra copy of chromosome in the 21st position. So here you can see the child is born with an extra copy of chromosome at the 21st place. So first and foremost, how many chromosomes do we have in our body? We have one set of chromosomes coming from the father and one set of chromosomes coming from the mother, isn't it? So usually when we speak about chromosomes, we speak in pairs, correct? So we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. 23 pairs of chromosomes in our body, and out of these 23 pairs, one set is coming from the father and one set is coming from the mother. So out of these 23 pairs, 22 pairs are body chromosomes. So totally we have 23 pairs, okay, out of which 22 pairs are body chromosomes and one pair is the sex chromosome. Okay, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes totally. So if you have to say in number, that means 46 chromosomes. So we can say we have 23 pairs, or we have 23 pairs, or we have 46 chromosomes. So out of this 46, 23 comes from the father and 23 comes from the mother. Okay, so in the 23 pairs, one set is coming from the father and one set is coming from the mother. Further, out of these 23 pairs, 22 pairs are body chromosomes and one pair is the sex chromosome, right? So the sex chromosome in case of males, okay? In case of men, the sex chromosome is X and Y in case of men, and in case of women it is X and X. Okay, so in women we have two X chromosomes and in men we have one X and one Y chromosome. So we all know this very well right from our school days. I just gave you a recap of what we already know. So what happens in Down syndrome is in the 21st place. So in every place we will have two chromosomes, one coming from father and one coming from mother, isn't it? However, in Down syndrome, in the 21st place, we will have three chromosomes and this leads to abnormality, and this abnormality is called as Down syndrome. Okay, so I will show you a diagram. Okay, you can see here, this is chromosome number 1. So here you will have two pairs of two chromosomes, that is one pair. So here one will come from the father and one will come from the mother. Same is the case with second position, third position. So overall if you count all of this, you will get 23 pairs of chromosomes, isn't it? Correct? So here you have chromosome number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on up to this is the 22nd pair of chromosome and this is the 23rd pair of chromosome. So all these 22 pairs of chromosomes are called as body chromosomes, or we can even call it as autosomes. Body chromosome is also called as autosome. Okay, body chromosome is also called as autosome. Do not worry, we will be discussing all of this detail in our complete lectures. Since in this lecture we are only discussing Down syndrome, I'm just giving you a brief brief information about all of this. Okay, so we have 22 body chromosomes, which is also called as autosomes, and we have one sex chromosome. Here it is the male, correct? So here you can see we have one sex chromosome. So we have one sex chromosome here. Yeah. So we have one sex chromosome here, one sex chromosome here, which is X and Y. So in case of women, it will be X and X, and in case of men, it will be X and Y. Correct? So this chromosome is also called as allosome. Okay, so do not worry, in our lectures we'll be discussing in detail about what is autosomes and allosomes. So just keep in mind that we have 23 pairs of chromosomes, and out of those 23 pairs we are getting one set from the father and one set from the mother, right? So overall we will have 23 pairs. When we take out the chromosomes and arrange it in a karyotype, this is how you can get the picture. Okay. So these are the chromosomes arranged in pairs from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. So in a normal person, here there will be only two chromosomes at the 21st position. However, when a person is suffering from Down syndrome, instead of two chromosomes, he will have three chromosomes at the 21st position, and this leads to the condition called as Down syndrome. Down's syndrome. Okay, did you all understand? So usually we have 23 pairs of chromosome. At each position we will have one pair, that is one chromosome coming from father and one chromosome coming from mother. However, what happens in Down syndrome is, here instead of in normal people only two chromosomes will be there, but however in the case of Down syndrome children we will have three chromosomes in this 21st position, because of which they get this abnormality, and we will be discussing what are the problems they will face because of this. Okay, fine. So here you can see, so here you can see Down syndrome is the Down syndrome is the condition in which a child is born with an extra copy of the chromosome in the 21st position. So he, instead of two chromosomes at the 21st position, he will have three chromosomes, which leads to the condition called as trisomy of 21. So Down syndrome also has another name. So we can either call it as Down syndrome or we can also call it as trisomy of the 21st chromosome. When we say trisomy, it means addition of one chromosome which leads to three chromosomes in a place where normally only two chromosomes should be present. Okay, trisomy, tri means three. Tri means three, isn't it? So there are three chromosomes at the 21st position, and that is why we call Down syndrome as trisomy of the 21st chromosome. Okay. So because of this extra chromosome that is at the 21st place, instead of two chromosome, the person will be having three chromosome. That leads to various physical and developmental delays and disabilities in the child. Okay. So very commonly we can see Down syndrome present among boys than in girls. Okay. So why does this occur? That is, why instead of two chromosomes we have three chromosomes in the 21st position? That is because of the failure of the chromosomes to separate during the meiosis. So we know that we have various stages during meiosis, isn't it? Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, cytokinesis, and we also have meiosis 1, we have meiosis 2, right? So during that there is an abnormality. So when the chromosomes are separate, are supposed to separate during the meiosis, there is some discrepancies which is happening, because of which they do not separate. So because of the failure to separate at the 21st chromosome during meiosis, there is an additional chromosome which is coming at that position of 21. Because of this, instead of two chromosomes in the 21st position, we have three chromosomes, and because of that, the children who are born with this condition will have few physical and mental developmental delays and disabilities. Okay, so because of the failure of the chromosomes to separate during meiosis, the person will get another extra copy of the 21st chromosome. So instead of two, he will have three chromosomes at the 21st position. Okay, so you understand? So normally we have 23 pairs of chromosomes, one set coming from the father and one set coming from the mother. So we can arrange the chromosomes in this order, that is chromosome number 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. So what happens in case of Down syndrome? In a normal person, here at the 21st position, we will have only one pair of chromosome, that is one coming from father, one coming from the mother. Whereas in the case of a Down syndrome child, we will have three chromosomes at the 21st position. Because of the presence of the three chromosomes, this condition is called as trisomy. Tri means three, isn't it? That is why this is called as trisomy, and since it occurs at the 21st position, it is called as trisomy of the 21st chromosome. Okay, because of this additional extra chromosome which is present at the 21st position, what happens is the child will have some mental disabilities and certain physical disabilities also. Okay, we will be discussing that now. So, what are the symptoms? So, how can we identify a student, how can we identify a child who is suffering from Down syndrome? So, we can see they will have a low IQ. That is, I already told you they will have certain physical as well as mental developmental delays or certain disabilities. So, they will have a lower IQ. So, they will be slightly mentally retarded. Okay. So you can observe that in Down syndrome, a very important symptom is mental retardation. Okay, so they will have low intelligent quotient and they will have a flat occipital region. So what do we mean by occipital? See, this is the frontal, this is the occipital. Okay, so I will show you with the example of a picture. See, you can see in the brain we have different lobes, isn't it? So this is the front part of our brain or head. This is the frontal. Okay, this yellow color part is the frontal, and then we have the parietal. Okay, and then we have the occipital here. This part. Okay, so frontal, parietal, occipital. Okay, so here the occipital for normal people, you can see it has curved like this, isn't it? You can see a curve like this, whereas for them it will be considerably flat like this. Got it? See here, this occipital, this is the frontal parietal occipital. Okay. So here in this occipital region, we can see this curve, isn't it? We can see this curve. This is present in the normal people, whereas in children who are suffering from Down syndrome, this will be considerably flat. Okay, so this region, that is the occipital region, will be flat. So they will have low IQ. Okay. So they will have low intelligent quotient or IQ. So they have low IQ. Then they have flat occipital region. We know what is the occipital region, right? This is the frontal part of the head or the brain. This is the parietal, which we have in the center. And this, the end part, is the occipital region. So this occipital region will be flat. Okay. So that is another symptom which we can observe among the Down syndrome children. And then we have oblique set eyes or the mongoloid slant with epicanthic fold. So the eyes will be oblique. Okay, I will show you how an oblique eyes with epicanthic fold will look like. So here you can see this is a oblique eyes. So you can see the eyes here is not horizontal. Instead it is oblique, like slightly this position, right? And here you can see this fold, isn't it? This fold, okay, or the skin which protrudes over the eyelids. This is called as epicanthic fold. This is called as epicanthic fold. And this kind of eyes is called as the mongoloid eye or the mongoloid slant. That is, the eyes are not horizontal, instead they are slightly tilted. Correct? That is what we call it as the mongoloid eye or the mongoloid slant. And this flesh or the folding of the skin above our eyelids is called as the epicanthic fold. I will show you the picture once again. See here, you can see this one, correct? This fold of the skin above the eyes, above the eyelid, you can see this prominent fold. This is called as the epicanthic fold, and this kind of eye is called as the mongoloid eye or the mongoloid slant. Okay, fine. So they have low IQ. Okay, the symptoms are low IQ, flat occipital region, oblique set eyes, that is mongoloid slant with full epicanthic fold. So now you know what is epicanthic fold. And they have the nasal bridge which will be low and depressed. What do you mean by nasal bridge? Here, the part of the nose where the spectacle sits, isn't it? This region here. This is called as a nasal bridge. So the nasal bridge is elevated for us in normal people, whereas this nasal bridge will be low and it will be depressed in children who are suffering from Down syndrome. I will show you the image. So here you can see this baby. This baby is a Down syndrome baby. Here you can see how flat this region is for the baby, isn't it? It is flat and depressed. That is, the nasal bridge is flat and depressed. This is also one symptom. Okay. I can also show you another picture. See here also you can see, this was the very first picture I showed you. This baby is also suffering from Down syndrome. Here also you can see the nasal bridge of the baby, which is very flat and it is depressed. Okay. So that is the nasal bridge. It will not have an elevation like in normal people, but it will be flat and depressed. Okay. So the nasal bridge will be low. Nasal bridge will be low and depressed in case of Down syndrome children. Then we have protruding fissured tongue and narrow palate. Protruding means they'll have a thick fleshy tongue which will always be protruding out of their mouth. Okay, and they will also have fissures in their tongue. When we say fissures, they will have crevices in their tongue. Say for example, this is the tongue. They will have very minor tiny cuts in the tongue like this. Okay, that is what we call it as fissured tongue. Okay, so the tongue will always be coming out of the mouth. It will be protruding and saliva will always be coming out of the mouth. This is what we mean by protruding fissured tongue and narrow palate. Palate means the roof of the mouth, right? So the roof of the mouth, suppose you touch your tongue to the upper part of the mouth, you can feel a flat surface, isn't it? That is the palate. Okay, so now you can try touching your tongue to the upper part of your mouth. So that flat surface which you can feel, right? That is the palate. Okay, so the palate will also be very narrow in case of Down's syndrome children. So they have protruding fissured tongue and a narrow palate. So first they have low IQ, then they have a flat occipital region, they have oblique set eyes or the mongoloid slant with full epicanthic fold and the nasal bridge. This nasal bridge will be low and depressed, and they have a protruding fissured tongue. Fissured tongue means they will have crevices or tiny cuts in the tongue. The tongue will be thick, it will be protruding out of the mouth always, and saliva will be coming out of the mouth, and the palate, that is the roof of the mouth, will be narrow. Okay, and they also have webbed neck deformity. What do we mean by webbed neck deformity? I will show you an image now. So here the neck will not be straight like this. Instead, it will appear like a web over here because of the loose skin which comes like this. I will show you. So here we saw the low and depressed nasal bridge, isn't it? So here in this baby, we saw here the nasal bridge is low and depressed. So here you can see the fissured tongue also. So here you can see in this baby, the tongue is very thick, correct? The tongue is thick and it is protruding, and you can also see some fissures. In this image, the fissures are not clearly visible, but at least you can see the tongue protruding. Tongue is protruding out of the mouth. It is thick, okay? And fissures will also be present in the tongue, okay? And the palate will be narrow. So in this image, you can see the nasal bridge which is low and depressed, and you can also see the protruding fissured tongue. Then here, this girl is not a Down syndrome girl. This girl is suffering from Turner syndrome, which we shall be discussing in another lecture. But I took this image to show you how webbed neck looks like. So this is the webbed neck. Can you see how a webbed neck looks like? So this is how it will look. Okay, this is what we call it as webbed neck. Webbed neck. Okay, so you can see this kind of neck even among the Down syndrome children. Okay, so what are the symptoms which we can observe among the Down syndrome children is, first and foremost, they will have low IQ. Okay, so they will have low IQ. Okay, so they will have low IQ, then they'll have a flat occipital region. They will have low IQ, they will have a flat occipital region, they will have mongoloid slant or oblique set eyes with epicanthic fold, and the nasal bridge will be low and depressed, and they will have protruding fissured tongue with narrow palate, and they will have webbed neck deformity. I showed you the image of how webbed neck will look like. Okay, so how do we diagnose? How do we know whether a child is suffering from Down syndrome? So the diagnosis is through clinical examination. Okay, we have clinical examination and karyotyping. So in detail about karyotyping, we shall be discussing in our regular lectures. So after karyotyping only, you will get a chart like this. Okay, so you can see this is how a karyotype chart will look like. Okay, so what we will do is there are various procedures how to extract the samples from the patient, and then finally a chart of comparison will be prepared. So on one side we will have a normal karyotype chart, and on the other side we will have the chart of the patient, and we will compare the chromosomes and identify what disease or what syndrome the child is suffering from. Okay, so do not worry, we will be discussing in detail about karyotype in our lectures. Okay, so we can do clinical examination and karyotyping for diagnosing the Down syndrome. Then what are the treatment options that is available? So treatment here is mostly symptomatic, and because the children have physical deformities and mental deformities also. Okay, so as I already told you, they will have mental retardation. In some cases it can be mild, in some cases it will be severe. So because of their low IQ and their mental retardation, they will have to be under the supervision, they will have to be under the care of their parents and their family for their entire lifetime. Okay, so these are the important, important things that the family of the children who are suffering from Down syndrome have to do. That is, mostly there is not much of medication or any other treatment options which can cure Down syndrome. However, depending on the severity, that is, as I already told you, in mild cases they will be able to do their regular activities and so on. But in case of severe mental retardation, they might not even be able to do their activities on their own. However, in either case, whether there it is a case of less severity or a more severity, in whatever case, because they have low IQ and they have physical as well as mental deformities also, because of this they have to be under the care of the parents and family for their entire lifelong. Okay, so we shall be discussing about much more syndromes and other interesting topics in anthropology in our upcoming lectures. So until I meet you in the next lecture, take care, bye, have a good day.